So thank you very much. Very, very excited to hear all the wonderful project. So my name is Bong-gi Sohn, and
I'm Dora.
And I'm Zina.
And Dr. Helen Lepp-Friesen is on here with us today, but she's cheering for us. So this project started with our this is a this project is based on the two new experimental course, tutoring writing and the Writing Center Administrations and Advanced EAL Writing. And and it comes from our lower level teaching and collaboration, which is the academic writing and tutoring writing. And as an instructor who regularly teaches academic writing on a regular basis, I frequently had in-class tutors throughout the terms to do a peer review sessions. And I see the value of it because the tutors have shared experiences and cultural repertoires that they can connect with my students who are just about to start their university. And so I found the value of having the tutors come in to connect with the writing tutors more and in their own terms to navigate academic discourse, especially university discourse that can be quite daunting and challenging and can be high stakes. So from the two upper level experimental course, Helen and I decided to collaborate, and then we decided to have two really talented writing tutors to join us on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, and then do a project together. So that's where the EAL fund was really, really important for us. And then without this, this project wouldn't happen. So thank you very much, Nayela. So this is our project is a collaborative ethnographic research. What it means is that writing tutors, they have multiple identities, the peer tutors, classroom observers, also participants as curriculum, co-participants as curriculum designers, conference presenters, researchers, and more. And specifically in this presentation, we wanted to highlight how tutors collaboratively engage in curriculum development through their regular in-class involvement in my class. So just to briefly, here are some of the course that I asked my students to do. So there are three major courses, course assignments, where students bring in what they know, and then they also discuss what they want to learn more. And then the first assignment is the personal narrative to talk about, and then what they know, and then what they want to know, and then bridge the gap through their personal narratives. And then the second assignment, we ask students to write discipline-specific genre analysis and also a reflection on their writing processes, as well as key takeaways, opportunities, and challenges that they encounter while they're doing the assignment. And then the third assignment was to apply the knowledge that students gained from their second assignment and their writing reflection. In that, over the term, the roles that writing tutors had was in-class involvement. They come on a weekly basis. They become both the course observer, as well classroom observer, as well as the in-class writing tutors. And then after that, they usually take the notes and then also write a written reflection. But over the term, we decided to have a follow-up discussion right after each class finishes. And then that was a breakthrough for us because we realized there was less of a contact hours between my students and writing tutors because of the amount of needs that we have to address from our student. And so we wanted to kind of find innovative ways to respond more interactive and dynamic manner. And another aspect that my student, they were saying was, well, when we look at the classroom, it's kind of it's organized in a very hierarchical manner where students were looking at the front, and then it creates hierarchies between the instructor and the students. And also, it's can we change the tables so that we can have a group discussions, more interactive discussions, actually coming from their own, and then that's less high stakes and so forth. So we decided to, okay, let's change our curriculum and together, and then through our discussion. So with that, I will hand it over the experiences that they had from our tutors first. Okay.
So for my experience, just like Dr. Sohn said, I had multiple roles as a peer tutor. I was a peer tutor, first of all, and then I was also a classroom observer, as well as a co-designer of the curriculum. And so overall, within my experience, my goal was to bridge the gap that can sometimes happen between professor and student. Throughout my experience, I tried to become approachable for students through again, using my own personal experience to connect with them and to bond with them. Sometimes humor, when appropriate, could also help, and also helping create a relaxed, familiar environment for the students, an informal environment. And as well, just like Dr. Sohn said, we stayed with the class throughout the whole term. So because of that, I believe that it allowed students to become more comfortable with me. And then throughout the progression of the class, one of the main trends I noticed that students struggled with was a fear of speaking up due to being wrong, their concern of being wrong, their concern of going up in front of the class, and even if they were right, just speaking verbally. But however, I did notice an increase in their confidence overall because near the end of the semester, we sat and watched them do in-class presentations, and I noticed they had extensive knowledge of the concepts we asked them to learn over the period, such as nominalization, passive voice, coherence and cohesion, all these things together. And then they also use their own cultural knowledge and experience to talk about topics that they are passionate about, thus as well bridging the gap between our culture here in the Western side of things as well as their culture, and to be proud of their plurilingual abilities. And they also gain the confidence to be wrong.
So as Dr. Sohn said, basically we wore a lot of hats during this semester. So for me, I was quite fascinated by the social dynamics of the class, because often I would get into situations where I would speak with tutees and they would be quite nervous. So I would have to look for different ways to break down questions that they had concerning the assignments that they were given. And it was a lot more easier for me because I already had experience prior, tutoring other people. So this eventually kind of reduced the nervousness that they had, because I could kind of bring things to my level and be like, hey, I'm a student like you as well. And mostly I think I also found that group work was a lot more engaging, because they would end up contributing a lot more compared to when it was more individual questions being thrown at them. So usually there'd be dead silence. But I think when I eventually made that suggestion, along with my colleagues, it made things a lot more universal. So occasionally I would also have to adapt with different learning styles, and that made things a lot more easier for them when it came to writing the essays or developing thesis and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. And actually, from the student reflection, I was able to see how they help them to brainstorm, and then how they really appreciate the peer feedback. And so I was very, very, very happy to see those outcomes. But to conclude, before we finish, I just wanted to highlight that writing, often when we think about it, is that you have to have a precise language, grammar-free, it has to be in a logical order. We have all these standards, and it can be sometimes quite daunting and overwhelming, especially those students who come from a very, very different educational system, because that's what the way that they learned, and then the way that how they interact, and then the kind of expectation that they have from their educational system is vastly different from that of here. So it does take a very, very long time to adjust and adapt, and they cannot eliminate what they already have. So in this course, we wanted to highlight that writing can be a high stake, but it can also play as a bridge between cultures, communities, and individuals. And also, writing is not only often in the literature, we say writing is very cognitively trained and cognitively oriented and very much functional, but it involves active involvement. It's a emotionally charged activity, and they have to present themselves in a very particular manner, not as a novice, but as an expert, especially in the university or professional writing settings. So writing is an act of care, and we also want to highlight that although it can be sometimes very, very difficult to replan the curriculum, but it can be iterative and recursive cycles, because people have to transform the way they think. They have to, the way that they breathe, the way that they act, and it cannot be learned in a linear manner, and then it cannot just learn in a one point, and then it can be adapted. No, we have to constantly revisit it and then revise it and then re-communicating with them. So that was kind of the lessons that we learned, and we really appreciate the opportunity that the EL Fund have given to us. Without this, we couldn't, I wouldn't be able to invite the writing tutors, and then we have a very fruitful discussions, and then ask some students to write more. So thank you so much. So we have about 2 minutes.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions for this group? And yeah,
Again, I just wanted to say, I taught academic writing this term, and coming up against something I have a lot, which is the peer review of students reading each other's papers. And I haven't always experienced success with that, because sometimes with peer review, student to student in the same class, they're peers, but they're like, well, what do I have to say about someone else's writing? And so I think this project is really generative, because you have a peer, but a peer who has a little bit more writing experience, that it's both peer, but I think also there's something they feel that they're getting from that, or if that makes any sense to you. So in fact, I think I reached out to you, Bong-gi, and to Eun-hee this term to say, what do we do with this peer review process, which I found sometimes didn't work in my classroom. And this is a wonderful initiative.
Do you want to share a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I definitely found that facilitating the conversations allowed students to feel comfortable speaking up even in the groups. Because I think that even together, when you spend so much time together as students and as peers, you know, you start to compare yourself, and you start to say, like, how are my ideas actually beneficial to this class? But I found that, you know, giving them a bit of time to pause and to reflect, because I think that a lot of the times the more shy students might feel that things are being thrown at them, and as a lot of them, you know, are coming from their own different backgrounds, their own different experiences with education, they might not be used to that. So even just taking the time to just look at them and say, what do you think about this? How does this make you feel? And then not giving up and just waiting, sitting in silence if I have to. Usually they say, well, I was thinking this, but I'm not sure if this would work. And I say, oh, it would work. So.
I mean, yeah, I would say my experience was slightly similar, although it was consistently changing, because sometimes I would work with people from different departments, and so they would have completely different writing styles. So based upon the different like assignments that they were given, I would have to figure out ways to kind of be like, okay, so how do we work with your,
When I think
guess,
about how I
science,
divide my time, it's very
grade and see
carefully.
how it works
I'm
with
Alex
arts and,
Diaz.
like, kind
I'm
of,
a
like,
professor.
work within those rules. Like, I tend to be academic sometimes, but I try to start off lighthearted during the conversation so they don't feel overwhelmed. So it's a difficult process sometimes, but I got used to it, and with time, I think it was definitely very rewarding at the end of the day. So,
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
thanks.
Yeah.